Welcome to episode 16 of the Web3 Crypto and the Law podcast. And today's going to be a short one, but I think it's important. And what I want to talk about today is the question, are decentralized exchanges actually the answer? And I want to talk about this because I think we're missing some really easy wins when we're looking at how to regulate crypto and how to educate the consumer. And I think a lot of the discussion now, especially with the FTX collapse, is we're looking at these overhauls of legislation and regulation, which may be needed, but are going to be months or years down the road. And I think there's some really easy wins we can have now that are going to satisfy a lot of people and make some big differences in how we move forward with cryptocurrency. So let's get into it. With the recent collapse of FTX and other centralized crypto exchanges, I keep hearing calls that crypto needs to go back to being decentralized. And I understand that argument, and I agree with it to a certain point. But if we want crypto to reach mass adoption, it needs to be accessible and usable by the populace, and not just those of us who are already interested in the technology and are comfortable with decentralized platforms. Because this populace, the populace we need in order for crypto to reach mass adoption, likes the ease and simplicity of centralized exchanges. So rather than just saying we need to go back to being decentralized, I think we need to think about how centralized exchanges can be managed such that crypto can reach mass adoption, especially if that is the goal. And so I think there's some low-hanging fruit that regulators can look to that will make some significant changes in the space. One of these is proof of reserve for exchanges. And you've heard this a lot since the FTX collapse. And what people are talking about is proof of reserve for exchanges and or stable coins. And if exchanges have to show audited reserves, at least consumers will have an idea of the risk they're taking on when investing in a platform. And there's legislation in the States, the Stablecoin Transparency Act. It hasn't been passed, but it's on the table. And that legislation right there talks about how exchanges would have to show audited reserves. And like I said, at least that way, if I want to put my money onto a centralized exchange, I can look at that audited reserve and at least have an idea of the risk I'm taking on. It's not a 100% solution. It's not going to fix everything, but it's educating the investor on the risk and at least giving them some awareness that maybe all centralized exchanges are not created equally. But let's make things even more basic. Okay, let's put aside the Stablecoin Transparency Act and go back to the real basics. Where's crypto being advertised? It's being advertised at the Super Bowl, Formula One, World Cup, on YouTube with influencers, on Twitter, right? That's where it's being advertised. That's where most people are seeing crypto and learning about it through these ads and through these influencers and celebrity influencers at sporting events, YouTube, Twitter. But how often do we see the regulators educating potential crypto users on those platforms? These are arenas where regulators can use targeted and demographically appropriate educational advertisements to give people a basic understanding of crypto, its risks, and its benefits. Yes, it costs money to put an ad on Formula One, the World Cup, the Super Bowl, or to pay an influencer to go talk about it on their channel. But it also costs a lot of money and time to spend months looking at legislation. And in the meantime, nothing's being done. So surely some money, time, and thought by the regulators can be put into advertising on these venues, right? Have a YouTube channel that speaks to, the demographic who is going on YouTube and getting hyped about crypto. Let's meet that. And I think that way we can really educate people. And so that when they do want to get into crypto, which I think, most people will want to, especially as we go further down the path, they have some education. They understand the benefits. They understand the risks. Okay. And they're not going into it blind. Because right now with the advertising, it's a very one-sided story that's coming to the consumers and to the retail investors. And I think the easiest win for regulators right now will they work on regulation? And whether you want regulation or not is coming. So I don't think we need to have that debate. But while they're working on that, let's at least educate the populace now so that they have a basic level of understanding and education, and then can decide what they want to do. So really what this comes down to in the short term is give people education, and then they can decide if they want to invest, and the market will dictate where this asset goes in the future. So that's my thoughts for the day. Decentralized exchanges are great, but I think if we want to meet mass adoption, centralized exchanges are going to play, pardon me, a key part in that. And so let's look at legislation like the Stablecoin Transparency Act to have show audited reserves of those centralized exchanges. That will give people some level of comfort and understanding when they go to invest. And let's also, get some advertisements from the regulators, on these sporting events, World Cup, Super Bowl, whatever it may be, to try and balance out some of the narrative. But that's everything I have for today. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.